today's talk time will address some issues on the forums that I moderate. If you know what those forums are, then you don't need to, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, then just skip this video. Okay, so a lot of people have asked the question or said, hey, is this spam, or is this off topic, or does this belong, or does that belong? Sometimes the line is really hard to draw. Sometimes I'll allow a topic that I know is spam to go on for a while, just to let it kind of dwindle of its own accord. And other times I'll lock it down before it even begins, because I know it's pointless and useless. When and why do I draw those lines at certain times and I don't at others? Well, it just depends what the topic is, and it depends on who the user is. Sometimes I want to give users a little bit of leeway to voice their opinion, even when that opinion is silly and arbitrary and has nothing to do with anything. And other times I know that those users know better and need to have the ban hammer slammed on them. Of course, I don't ban people arbitrarily. In fact, I dislike banning people on principle. But there are some people that I do ban, and for very good reasons. But it's usually a last resource. Usually instead I'll lock the thread or delete it or move it somewhere else or merge it with an existing thread where it would better serve its purpose. There's at least one thread that says no rules. Well, of course, in that thread there are rules, but the idea of the thread is to post useless nonsense. It's a place where people can put stuff that doesn't belong anywhere else. Sometimes I'll move spam topics into that thread so that they won't bother other people, and they won't clutter the forums with useless stuff. And other times I'll just lock the topic. Sometimes as a joke I might say, hey, somebody else, do you want to lock this topic? You know, it's just to be like a joke. And, you know, it just depends. But I never want to give the impression that there's something that you can't talk about. Everything now has a place for it. There's general, there's different forms for everything. So if you can't really decide where something goes, put it somewhere and it will be moved if it doesn't belong there. But never feel like you can't do it. Read the rules. This is so important. Read the rules first. If you don't feel like it's breaking the rules, then it probably isn't. If you feel that, if you don't take that much thought when you make a post, then chances are it's bound to not make a lot of sense, or if it's just completely stupid and pointless, it's probably going to be locked as spam. When it is, don't be surprised. But I like to be a little bit flexible. And I don't want to give the impression that people can't make certain topics. There's just some topics that are silly and irrelevant and need to die out on their own. And when they do die out, then good for them. Other topics I feel are useful and needed, and I let them be open. The main problem I have is when users don't want to listen. I tell them do something or don't do something, and they argue with me. You know, I will argue to a point, but then there's a point where I say, listen, you can have your opinion, but the bottom line is, I asked you to do this, please don't make me make it official, because I'm asking you nicely. Therefore, I don't want to make it an actual warning, which might have further consequences. Now look, using common sense, if you've been on any forum anywhere, you should know what spam is and what spam isn't. Don't be afraid if your post is somewhat off topic. That happens in normal, natural conversation. What I don't like to see is when two people have basically a private conversation in public. Remember, topics are for everybody, not just for you and whoever you're talking to. If you want to talk to that person about whatever, PM them and just have a normal chat within a private message. But there are again times when topics become, I'm quoting you and you're quoting me. This doesn't mean we're ignoring other people, it just means we're debating each other. And as such, it's for everybody. So don't exclude people, but, you shouldn't have to feel forced to include people either. There's lines and then there's lines to draw. Ultimately, I have to make those tough decisions of where to draw those lines and when to do it. I might not always be right, but I do the best that I can. If you disagree with it, well, too bad. Bottom line is, I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm doing a job for everybody, not just for me. So, never feel like there's something you can't post about. Again, read the rules. If it's not in there, it's probably okay. If you're not sure, PM me and ask. Say, hey, is this okay? And I'll let you know. So I really don't want people to feel like they can't do stuff. But I do want people to know that if I tell you to do something or not to do something, just do it or don't do it. Okay? I got too much stuff to deal with to, sit down and argue with you and explain with you why you shouldn't do it or why it's wrong or whatever. Bottom line is, I, as a moderator, asked you to do or not to do something, so do it or don't do it. And that's pretty much it. I think the rules cover most of everything else, but I'm sure there's a few areas they don't always cover. So when you're moderated, remember, it's nothing personal, it's something that we're doing for the good of the community. If you don't like it, well, sorry, tough luck. But, we're not bad guys, we're not trying to be bad guys, we just have to keep order. Alright, so I hope that makes some sort of sense, and if it doesn't, let me know. Until next time, peace out.